Hi, welcome back to Monstrous Comics. If you're new here, I'm Zach, and I'm also pretty new here. Thank you for joining me. Here, I'm working on my sketchbook. I'm using a red colour raise pencil to lightly sketch out a character. And so I'm making this one up on the page and drawing some sort of woman in a sci-fi looking helmet with a visor. Now, most of the work that you may have seen on this channel so far has been digital, but when I first found a passion for art and comics, I actually never wanted to do digital work. I wanted to keep all of my stuff hand painted, just like the British comics that I grew up reading. Obviously that didn't really work out. The convenient workflow and the lure of the undo tool eventually ensnared me. Maybe it's Stockholm Syndrome talking, but I actually do enjoy working digitally now. I do love traditional work though still. Now, I recently saw some painting videos up on Twitter that really reignited my interest and love for splashing colours on paper with a brush. So I thought I'd open up the sketchbook and paint up some of my sketches. And this one, obviously, I did a completely new one from scratch. Now, I'm very, very rusty with the paints, so I wouldn't use this video to get any watercolour tips from if I were you. I just wanted to share a little bit of my creative process and maybe give a sense of me sort of delving back into something where I'm a little bit out of my depth. So my watercolour set is very old. It's probably old enough to have a midlife crisis. My granddad gave me this watercolour set probably about 30 years ago now. When I was a kid, I coloured pretty much everything with this set. All my comics, random drawings, birthday cards for the family, just like everything, and it's got a lot of use. Since I've been drawing for a living, I've done far less painting, but dipping back into it again has been really nice. It sort of feels like connecting with my granddad and my childhood. Now you might see here that I'm painting with very pale, diluted colours. Now I'm aiming for quite a muted pastel colour scheme. Once the light base colour is laid down, I go back in with a deeper colour to add some darker areas, as well as some slightly richer and more vivid areas. Now I left some parts white though, for a sort of shiny effect. I also put some yellow highlights in to suggest that there's some sort of yellow light source off to the left, which is reflecting off of our character. I've not left a gap in this video whilst the paint dries, because who wants to watch paint dry? But once I finish the watercolour layer, rest assured I let the page dry fully. I didn't want the pen bleeding onto the page when it came time to ink it. Now I start the inking with a Pentel brush pen to create a broad flowing line. I mean, that was the theory, but I hadn't used mine in ages and forgot that they're quite a tricky piece to use when you're rusty, so some of my lines have a bit of wobble. That's all part of the handmade charm though. I tell myself through a stream of salty tears. Anyway, once the broader strokes are down, I have the finer, more subtle details set aside to be done with fine liners. Now these are just drawing pens, but with very fine tips, usually less than 1 millimetre across. And the main one that I use here has a 0.3 millimetre tip. You can actually get even finer lines with the brush pen if you're good with it, but it's hard to do, and like I said, I'm rusty. I really like the combination though of combining the line styles from two different type of pens there. I think it looks cool. It's something that I do in my digital work as well though, where I use two different brush types to get different line styles on my characters. I finish off the drawing by going over the eyes a little bit more firmly, using that red pencil that I used at the start. This sort of gives the effect that the eyes are behind that red tinted visor and everything is tinted red, even the lines. And with that done, I think this is complete. So thank you for tuning in and checking that out. I've finished my painting. That's what I came up with. I'm pretty pleased that it turned out. It's not bad. Thank you for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed it. And see you next time.